US military investigators are looking into the possibility that US forces were responsible for a deadly strike on a girls' school in southern Iran, which resulted in the deaths of at least 150 children. The attack took place on the first day of US and Israeli airstrikes on Iran. According to reports, the school, located near an IRGC compound in Minab, was struck by multiple air-delivered munitions. Investigators have yet to confirm the type of munition used, and it remains unclear who exactly is responsible for the attack. The Pentagon has stated that the US military never targets civilians, but is conducting an inquiry into the matter. However, the UN has called for an independent investigation into the incident. Furthermore, the US Defense Secretary, while acknowledging the investigation, has reiterated that such attacks on civilians' structures are not condoned by the US government. However, if the US military is found to be responsible, the strike could be one of the worst instances of civilian casualties in decades of US military operations in the Middle East. Joining us live, we have our guest Shruti Dasgupta, who is a foreign affairs expert in New Delhi. Thank you so much for joining us today, Shruti. What's your perspective on this strike on the girls' school in Iran? It happened on the first day of this war about a week ago. Could we see any consequences for those responsible?
Were there any consequences of downing ships in the Caribbean by the USA without proof? Did they pay for the 80-odd lives that they took without showing the world how the lives and the ships that they sunk to the bottom of the sea were drug peddlers? No, so we're not going to see any accountability coming for these lives as well. The fact that such a news is in forefront also is contradictory to the fact that Iran itself is hitting urban centers and causing loss of life in civilian areas, which are not being talked about. One, because the nations that are being hit in their urban centers, like their international airports, like their hotels, they do not want to help Iran feel a sense of victory by causing the damage that it has caused. And so the casualty numbers are at best guessed at rather than given an approximate number that via official sources. So these nations are not able to beat their chest and cry about the casualties. Iran, of course, is using the unfortunate death of the large number of young primary school students to its advantage to stand at a higher moral ground in this war and showcase how American, and that's the current rumor on the ground, that was probably an American strike that did it, how the Americans are not as innocent as they would like to plead to be. So there is not going to be any accountability for it. There have been a large number of precedents that have been broken in these past 7 days in war dynamics as such. There is loss of life, there's injury to civilians. That is unfortunate part of the urban warfare that we've been witnessing for the past 4 years, whether it is Ukraine and Russia, or whether it is now Iran, or whether it is Israel and Gaza. No matter where it is, it's always part of urban warfare, and civilian casualties are unfortunate truth of such a scenario.
Shruti, please stay with us as we move to our next story.